Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I am PT. Welcome to the Paranormal Trucker. With me tonight is Snowman, Large Marge, and Frank the Tank.
Hey.
Very special announcement tonight. It is somebody's birthday. I won't tell you who.
I don't know who. You know what I miss it is a tiara.
Yeah.
I need a tiara. That's what I need.
Somebody is 39 years young today.
Yes, I am.
So happy birthday.
Thank you very much.
Tonight's episode is going to be kind of short. Again, life gets in the way. So we've got we're going to talk about the books still. And I've got a ghost story, which is also an aviation story. So two of my favorite things.
There we go.
Large Marge.
We're going to talk about a few things that happened in 1963.
Yes.
Yeah, I was going to say, and Large Marge has a list of some stuff that happened in 1963.
My phone never rings.
Well, let's just go ahead and get the pleasantries out of the way. How have you all been? It's been 2 weeks or a week, 2 weeks. How long has it been?
It's been 2 weeks.
Too long is how long it's been.
Yes.
2 weeks.
Yes.
So, how have you guys been?
Well, it's my birthday, and for my birthday, Snowman went out and bought 2 big fat ribeyes and threw them on the grill, and I had the most fabulous steak dinner.
And
That sounds delicious.
It was delicious.
I'm trying to put another arrow in the plus side.
Well, I was going to say, what'd you screw up in the last 2 weeks there, Snowman?
I don't know. I'm trying to make up for you.
Nothing. He never does.
Just in case. Well, that's for future if I've done that.
You're gonna save credits up.
Yeah, I gotta say.
Yeah, he's getting some credit saved up.
When one day I will screw something up.
Like, oh yeah, you remember those 2 big fat steaks you had? So I guess we'll kick off the episode by talking about continuing our saga on the books. Let's hear it. What you got?
Well, like I said, just kind of going through the books and still on book 2, William Thompkins, which deals with William Thompkins, and he had worked for Douglas Aircraft, and a bunch of think tanks, and also worked for, oh my God, what is the name of it? Oh my God, I can't remember the name of it now.
Who is it?
Right. He worked for a think tank. Actually worked for a lot of think tanks, that would design this stuff and come up with all the stuff. But, they talked about in the book that he worked for, I think it's the MTW, something. I think that's what it was. And
we're having a hard time hearing you. You're kind of low. Would you say who?
I'm sorry. He worked for one that was, I think the think tank was MTW.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of dealt with UFOs and alien type stuff. And that's what they did. Well, they actually were part of making the movie Close Encounters of the Third Kind.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and in the scene where the mothership comes down, there, some of the guys are on the ground or whatever were running around, and it's flashing across the back. So they were involved in actually coming up with the concept, or which they're saying it actually happened.
Yeah.
It was just someplace else.
Wouldn't it be wild if that was actual footage? And they used it.
That would be awesome.
That would be pretty cool.
He basically, designed the anti-gravity ships that the Navy are using now in Solar War in the fleets, and he also went to work for oh my gosh, now I should have wrote all that shit down. I'm sorry. Anyway,
this was kind of a thrown together last minute episode because we've been so busy lately. So.
Saturn V, the Apollo program.
Hmm.
Each stage of it was built by a different company.
Really?
Yes, and he designed the third stage. Well, they got to figuring out that it wasn't going to work because they were trying to use all this old military hardware, and nothing was compatible with everybody else's stuff. So he redesigned pretty much the whole project, the whole rocket system. They were testing these rocket engines and the rockets laying down on their side. Well, when they stood them up, nothing worked. It wouldn't work. So he
Yeah.
went designed the vertical assembly building that is at Kennedy Space Center right now, and redesigned the rockets, and went to Werner von Braun, and oh, I guess I can't remember the other guy's name now. They were like co-heads of NASA at the time,
Hmm.
and laid out a system. This is what we need, and to make everything work, and they accepted it. Well, because he went over their head, I think he was working for Douglas at that time. He went over their head and didn't go through his company to get this okay. They fired him. And so he went to work, but they ended up using the designs that he had made to make the Apollo program work. Because initially, when it was all started, they were supposed to use old military hardware, rocket engines, whatever, and he figured out it would not work, and they changed all of it, and we got to the moon 6 times. But I'm thinking that, and he was working for all these companies, and there was always 2 or 3 real good looking secretaries that would come in and kind of, if they started hitting a dead spot or whatever, for some reason they would know how to fix it. And that's why his book is actually called Selected by Extraterrestrials. But they would nudge them in a way to make whatever project they were working on work. And I guess if that's going to be alien involvement, I guess a good looking secretary probably better than a big lizard or something. Tell me what to do.
Yeah, I mean, well, and it makes you wonder because well, all right. So maybe by the way,
Oh my God.
Sweet.
Yeah, well, I'm pretty sure the space program got the good looking secretaries, and the transportation industry definitely got the lizards.
I see where you went with that.
Yeah, lot lizards and all. You hear me? Come on. Let's see. So I just finished the 3rd book in the series of Michael Sala's books, and I will tell you, it's the Antarctica book, and it is absolutely insane. When you listen to these books or read these books or however you choose to ingest this material, it may not be true. It may just be completely fictional, non-fictional, whatever it is. But man, it makes a lot of sense. And if you look at the stuff that happens in everyday life today, it makes a lot of sense. And it's insane. And I'll tell you something that I found out that I didn't really know was there were a lot of businesses that funded the Nazi program, and some of those businesses are still in operation today, and some of those businesses were American businesses.
Yes.
Very disconcerting. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah. Very disconcerting.
Yeah. And they bring up the topic of slavery, that it's going like gangbusters.
Yeah, even still to this day.
Still to this day. And, you look at that, the hell, how many people goes missing every year that you never hear from again?
Right. Yeah,
You know?
exactly. And they say that that the climate change, the melting of the Antarctic ice sheets may inadvertently have a hey, chill. Sit down.
Big interruption.
It's weird that I was talking about that and somebody just pulled in the driveway. Hang on. If I go missing, tell my friends and family I'll have them.
Blink if you're in danger.
Sit down. What's out there, Bubba? Hey.
Probably out there somebody trying to robe your old couch you was gonna throw in the garbage.
Probably. What's out there, dude? Hey, what's out there? Hold on. I'll be right back. Talk amongst yourselves.
We're gonna have to talk amongst ourselves.
Talk amongst. What
Well-
should we talk about?
Well, see, that's your birthday.
It is my birthday.
So what's some interesting stuff happened in 63?
Well, John F. Kennedy was assassinated,
Yes.
and they say everybody that lived during that time that you remember where you were and the exact moment when you found out that he had been shot. And my mom always said that I was in a playpen and she was up on a ladder in the living room painting the living room walls when it come on the news.
Yeah, I'm a little bit older than you are, and they said I was in there and it just filled my diaper. So I just blocked that out.
Let's see what's some other stuff.
Okay. I don't know. What? Nobody out there?
Oh,
What was? Do you know what the price of gas was?
yeah, here I have this. I want to read some of these. It's so interesting. Okay, here we go. A Coke was 5 cents. It's $3.99 now. McDonald's hamburger, a Big Mac, was 28 cents.
God.
They're $3.99 now.
And it came in that awesome fuck the environment styrofoam container.
Yeah.
Right?
They were
Yeah.
delicious.
A washer and dryer combo set was about $300. Now they're $1,300.
Wow.
The average cost of a new car in 63 was $3,233.
Yeah.
Now it's $31,252. Price a gallon of gas in 1963 was 32 cents. The average cost for a new house was $19,300.
Wow.
But does it tell what minimum wage is?
The average income per year was $4,396. It doesn't.
So
It doesn't. Oh, let's see. Wait a minute. More.
that you think about it, you know, a house gonna cost you $20,000 and you're making $4,000 a year.
Right.
You know, that well, I think inflation has killed everything now. It's probably not, but if you take into effect, we're making about the same amount of money we were in 1963 compared to what everything's cost.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember my dad bought I think it was a 72 Chevrolet pickup. He paid $3,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, and what's odd is you buy a 72 Chevrolet pickup now, you're going to pay $30,000 for it.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's crazy. But you know, and I don't know. I don't want to get off on politics because I'm kind of right now.
Yeah, let's just not do that. Snowman almost killed himself at work this week, so he's probably still.
Yes, I did. Stupid mistake.
Yeah, so
We're not gonna do that anymore. I made a note to self. We don't do that no more.
he learned something on Friday, folks. Listen, he explained it to me, and yeah, I would have been heartbroken. I would have just been beside myself for a while. But 20 years from now, it would still be the funniest thing that anyone had ever told me if it actually happened.
Yeah. Well, sorry to lost your joke and cost you 20 years of a good laugh.
Oh
Wake
my
up and what a dumb.
I mean, I would have had to rethought my entire life. If you had killed yourself doing that, I would have I had to think about all the pieces of advice you gave me over the years and be like, maybe he really didn't know what he was talking about. By the way, I wouldn't be laughing about my dad dying 20 years from now. Calm down, hippies. Shit. Um, so moving on. Is that all you have on the books?
No, we can talk. There's all kinds of. I mean, I can jump into some of the other stuff, and later in the books, I think it's in the 5th book about the United States Air Force.
Mhm.
They, they kind of held back, and they aligned themselves with the Dracos, the reptilian version of the aliens
Right.
that are supposed to be in Antarctica. Well, they're a little more mean spirited. Let's put it that way. They're more like what's going on right now in the world. You conquer what you can conquer. And then some stuff came out, and they kind of fell out of favor with them, and they allied themselves with the Nordics. And they were led to believe that they were the tip of the spear.
Mhm.
And one of the generals said, that's what we were told. We were the tip of the spear, and said we turned out we're just the Coast Guard. I'll not use the words they said, since we don't have children listen, but
Right.
basically they were so far behind that it wasn't even funny.
Well, you might as well. I already dropped a inadvertent F-bomb today's podcast, so I apologize.
Oh, well, we don't want to do that.
By the way, I got a new candle, and it is awesome. It's sun-drenched linen. smells like laundry. It's awesome. But anyway, I digress. Now going into the books, it's very weird how much everything that they talk about in these books makes sense today. And going back to some of our pop culture, our television, our movies, our books going back to 50s, 60s, 70s, how much of those TV shows and movies were influenced, or perhaps soft disclosure.
Yes.
So I mean, I don't know. It's you were talking about the reptilians, and I can remember watching a Star Trek episode about there was some time travel, and they went back in time to World War II, and the reptilians were, or there was an alien race that resembled some sort of reptilians that were basically running World War II, and it seems very very coincidental to say the least.
Yeah, and it's that their claim in the books that's where Star Trek and Battlestar Galactica came from, was them given access to some of the information. Gene Roddenberry, and I think Glenn Larson created the other one, gave them some little background information into what was going on, and they turned out a TV series. And I don't know how old is Star Trek now. They're in their 54, 55 years.
When did it come out? 60, 66?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So it's no, it's going on 60 here in the next few years.
Well, now, no, I'm gonna let everybody know, when I was younger, I was in high school before I ever knew Star Trek was in color. We never had a color TV. We always had an old black and white TV.
Yeah.
Got one, and I said, "Oh, what the hell? It's a color."
You carry your sister on your back up to school every day.
Every day. 5 miles one way, or 5 miles one way. Uphill.
Both ways is uphill.
I did ride a school bus, though, bus number 3, that had you'd go up in it and there was no second step. So you kind of stepped up on the first step and jumped up to the third step to get up into the bus. And then there was holes back there. So if it was raining, there was water blowing up through the floorboards. I mean, it was
Oh.
bad. Yeah, that would never fly today.
No, you want to talk bad? We didn't have school buses.
Yeah. Marge
would
over
you
here
have?
literally walked a mile in the
I
snow.
literally walked a mile in the snow both ways, but it wasn't uphill.
Wow, you really wanted to learn. I believe I would have just been homeschooled if I had to walk.
We didn't have that homeschool stuff when I was in school.
No, they
We didn't have it.
Yeah,
Pussy
stuff from
homeschool
school.
shit. My
Yeah.
day.
Yeah, my day.
Yeah, we had to actually go out and learn something.
That's right.
We couldn't sit in the house and learn something. We had to go out and learn
That's
something.
right.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, I guess moving along, we're going to talk about Eastern Airlines Flight 401 today. Eastern Airlines was a airline in the probably 60s and 70s.
If he was at the Eastern, I'd repeat my name.
Okay. You said
It was
Eastern
a-
Airlines was an airline in the Eastern.
in the Eastern. Yeah. Is there a gas leak in both of our places today?
I got the giggles.
So
I'm gonna kick this out.
just kind of a backstory to Eastern Airlines Flight 401. It was a Lockheed L1011-1 TriStar, which was Lockheed's version of a wide body jet.
Yeah.
McDonnell Douglas had their DC-9, I think it was, that are still flying today. You see them on mostly FedEx cargo planes. And then, of course, you had Boeing 747. Lockheed had the L1011 TriStar, which
Didn't
was
he play basketball?
do what?
Joaquin.
Lockheed. He said Lockheed.
Oh.
Lockheed. Oh, boy.
No, I think Joaquin played the Joker.
I'm sorry. I don't know why I'm in such a goofy mood.
So the Lockheed L1011 TriStar was ahead of its time. That's probably why it didn't take off. It had a very short life, but it was very much a very technical airplane. There was a lot of automated systems on it, whereas the competitors didn't have as much on it. Perfect airplane, great airplane, just way ahead of its time. Didn't really take off. But 401 was scheduled from New York to Miami on December 29th, 1972. And it crashed into the Florida Everglades shortly before midnight, causing 101 fatalities. All 3 cockpit crew members, 2 of the 10 flight attendants, and 96 of the 163 passengers were killed. There were, however, 75 survivors. The crash occurred while the entire cockpit crew was preoccupied with a burnt-out landing gear indicator. Now, I know I just said that it was a highly technical airplane, and there was a light bulb burnt out, is what actually caused the air crash, the plane to crash. But there was actually nothing wrong with the airplane. It was a light bulb on the dashboard that indicated whether the gear was down and in the locked position, and they were preoccupied with trying to figure out why that light had not lit up. And ultimately, they call it a controlled flight into terrain due to pilot error and loss of situational awareness. So essentially, the plane came in at a low angle and just kind of crashed into the ground. Not a high speed impact or a high angle, real fast impact, but enough to destroy the entire aircraft. They failed to notice the autopilot had inadvertently been disconnected, and as a result, the aircraft gradually lost altitude and crashed. This was the first fatal crash of a wide-body aircraft, and it was also the first hull loss and first fatal crash of the Lockheed L-1011 TriStar. Flight 401 departed JFK, New York on Friday, December 29th, 1972 at 9:20 p.m. with 163 passengers and 13 crew members on board. The flight was routine until 11:32 p.m. when the plane began its approach to Miami International. After lowering its gear, the first officer, shoot, I didn't tell you their names. Let me see if I can find them here real quick. So the captain was Captain Robert Alban Loft. He was a veteran pilot, ranked 50th in seniority at Eastern. He had 32 years of flight time, or 32 years with Eastern Airlines, 29,700 hours throughout his flight career. The first officer was Albert John Stockstill. He had 5,800 hours of flying experience, 306 being on L-1011. Flight engineer Donald Lewis Repo, 51, who had 15,700 hours. 53 of the hours were on the L-1011. Yeah, that's why he's the third pilot, the flight engineer. He's monitoring the systems. And so those are the important names that you need to learn, or that you need to know for the rest of the story. So First Officer Stockstill noticed that the landing gear indicator, which was a green light identifying whether or not the nose gear had locked down properly, had not illuminated. This was later discovered to be due to a burned out light bulb. The landing gear could have been manually lowered nonetheless. Pilots cycled the landing gear until it failed to illuminate. Loft, who was working the radio during this leg of the flight, told the tower that they would discontinue their approach to the airport and request to enter a holding pattern. The approach controller cleared them to climb to 2,000 feet and then hold west over the Everglades. The cockpit crew removed the light assembly. Second Officer Repo was dispatched to the avionics bay beneath the flight deck to confirm through a small porthole if the landing gear light was indeed down, or if the landing gear was indeed down. 50 seconds after reaching their assigned altitude, Captain Loft instructed First Officer Stockstill to put the L-1011 on autopilot. For the next 80 seconds, the plane maintained level flight. Then it dropped 100 feet, and then again flew level for 2 more minutes, after which it began to descend so gradual it could not be perceived by the crew. In the next 70 seconds, the plane lost only 250 feet, but this was enough to trigger the altitude warning chime located on the engineer's workstation. Now, remember, the engineer is below the cockpit in the avionics space, so they couldn't hear it. So no indication was heard of the pilot's voices. They'd heard the chime on the CVR, that they had heard the chime, and another 50 seconds, the plane was at half its assigned altitude. So we're at 1,000 feet now. As Stockstill started another turn into 180 degrees, he noticed the discrepancy. The following conversation was recorded from a flight voice recorder later. Stockstill says, "We did something to the altitude." Loft says, "What?" Stockstill says, "We're still at 2,000 feet, right?" And Loft says, "Hey, what's happening here?" Less than 10 seconds after that exchange, the jetliner crashed. The location was west-northwest of Miami. The plane was traveling 227 miles per hour when it hit the ground. The aircraft, in a mid-turn, the left wingtip hit the surface first, then the left engine, then the left landing gear, making 3 trails in the sawgrass, each 5 feet wide. So essentially, because of the low speed of this aircraft hitting the ground and how it was just such a gradual fly into the ground, the plane broke up, but there were still many, many usable parts on the aircraft, of the aircraft. So the story goes that Eastern Airlines actually salvaged all of the components that they could and used them on other airplanes that needed to be replaced at the time. Over the following months and years, stories began circulating that employees of Eastern Airlines and numerous passengers had reported sightings of the dead crew members, Captain Robert Loft and Second Officer Flight Engineer Donald Repo, sitting on board other L-1011s. The story speculated that parts of the crashed aircraft were salvaged after the investigation and refitted into other L-1011s. The reported hauntings were said to be seen only on the planes that used the spare parts. Gossip regarding the sightings of the spirits of Don Repo and Bob Loft spread throughout Eastern Airlines to the point where Eastern's management warned employees that they could face dismissal if caught spreading ghost stories. While Eastern Airlines publicly denied their planes were haunted, they reportedly removed all salvaged parts from their L-1011 fleet. Here's where it gets weird. Over time, the reporting of ghost sightings stopped. An original floorboard from Flight 411 or 401 remains in the archives of the History Miami in South Florida, and pieces of Flight 401's wreckage can also be found in Ed and Lorraine Warren's Occult Museum in Monroe, Connecticut. So
I love Ed and Lorraine.
I've never been there. I've never heard of it.
You've never heard of them?
Never heard of them.
Oh my gosh, they are like the godfathers, the originators of ghost hunting. They are.
Oh, really?
They're way up in their years now if they're still alive.
But,
Well, and it goes
you know,
back to stuff that we've talked about in the past where
They did
situations,
exorcisms and everything. They did all kinds of crazy stuff.
it kind of goes back to talking about where situations where people's deaths are so horrific that an imprint of them is left in this world. And attached to these pieces of this aircraft were the ghosts of those dead crew members, who I'm sure felt responsible for killing 63 of the passengers, two of their other crew members, and all three pilots. It's a very sad story, but it's very intriguing because once they started replacing the parts with new parts that weren't from that aircraft, the ghost sighting stopped.
Yeah. But and when I was younger, a lot younger, so this is an old movie. They actually made a movie of this.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I don't remember the name of it, but supposedly the ghost, in the movie, the ghost would tell them there'd never be another crash of an L-1011. And at that point, I guess there hadn't been.
Right.
And it was a good movie. I just remember seeing it when I was young. So like I said, it's an old movie.
You know what's weird is I don't know this one. I know. I think there was another. I'm trying to look up how many L-1011s have crashed. I think there's just one. L-10.
Well, that's the whole premise of the movie was the ghost would appear and tell them there would never be another crash of an L-1011.
Right. So there was 5 total accidents with the L-1011. Delta actually retired its last TriStars in 2001 and replaced them with the 767s. I don't know. I mean, it's sad to see a plane be replaced, especially as one as technologically advanced as the L-1011 was.
Yeah.
Beautiful aircraft, one of the first wide body jets. So actually helped shape our air travel industry.
Well, you look at the B-52. They're saying by the time it gets done with this service life, it's gonna be 100 years.
Yeah.
Most of the guys flying it, the planes are older than they are.
Well, there is a story in the in one of the military forums that I've read that a father had flown a B-52 and now his son is flying a B-52. The same one.
Yeah. Yeah, they just keep upgrading them. They're even looking at replace. How they've got the 8 engines, they're replacing the engines. Now I don't know if they're still gonna have 8 or if they're gonna have like the new style turbofans like the big jetliners have.
Yeah.
But they're looking at replacing the engines on with updated stuff. And you look at this also that what's the A-10 Warthog? Gosh, man, that thing was built back in the '60s and it's still going strong.
Oh yeah, and it'll continue to go strong.
And it doesn't have all this modern gadgets and equipment and this and that in it. That it's just basically an airplane with a big ass gun, and they would fly in big old iron titanium bathtub that the pilots sit in. And they're still going there, and they've not come up with a design to really replace it. They tried to retire it, and
Yeah, no, it's a perfect airplane for what it is.
what it's supposed to do.
For a sub um,
Yeah, subsonic.
subsonic airplane, it's a perfect design. It's got big fat wings, two very powerful engines, and it's just a gun with wings is all it is, and it's perfect for what it is, what it was designed to do.
And if you look back in the Iraq War and even in Desert Storm, of those planes that had actually got hit, there was a lot of them made it back with a hell of a lot of damage on
Hmm. Well, and there was also a story out of, and this is a completely different airplane, but the F-15 Eagle
it.
actually had a head-on collision, or it was a head-on collision with a MiG, I think, and it tore the wing completely off of the airplane.
Yeah,
That
I think he was Israeli.
Yeah, and that airplane actually flew and landed back at the base. It was amazing.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Well, I will say that your generation did build airplanes pretty cool,
Yeah,
And we had the best music.
and you had the best music. Yeah.
yeah.
We did. And the best cars.
Nah.
Yeah. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, they were pretty cool cars.
Muscle car generation, the greatest.
We got muscle cars now.
No,
No,
not
well,
really.
No, you had a muscle.
No.
I did, didn't I?
Yes.
I did have a muscle car.
She had a Dodge Challenger.
Yeah.
Lord mercy. That's why I don't have no hair right now. When I would ride over in the passenger seat, she's driving, it just always left.
I had a Mustang I liked better though.
Yeah.
Mustang was more fun.
I would think so. I would think that a Mustang would be more fun than a Challenger.
It was.
Yeah, Challenger was pretty fun. Good car.
Yeah, Snowman, he had to drive it. His truck broke down and he had to drive the Challenger.
Yeah, it was pretty good. It was
Love
hard to keep under the speed limit.
I'd say it was.
It was. But it was a lot of fun. Of course, now back in the day, I almost bought a 73 Corvette, and that thing was fast. You'd be at speed limit in second gear.
Well, I wish you would have bought it because
Well, I
maybe
would
one,
because I'd kept it.
maybe one day
I
would have
was
been mine.
pretty.
I'd have been like, that. Oh boy, I saw it at Walmart there one time. He pulled up in a 77 Pontiac Firebird, not Firebird, Trans Am.
Yeah.
It was just like Smokey and the Bandit. I mean, it was identical. And this just like 2-3 years ago. And so I was sitting there waiting, and I said, $20, old boy gets out, and he's gonna look like Burt Reynolds. Well, he gets out, and he got probably the best mullet I'd ever seen in my life. I said, no, that ain't Bandit.
No. That's odd. Mullets usually drive a 97 model Trans Am.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, this was
Or 87.
It's a good looking car.
Tennessee top hat.
Well, I think that's going to do it for tonight. Join us each and every week. Well, I won't say that. Join us. Hit the notification bell. That'll let you know when we're going to drop another episode, because we started this trying to do it every week. It's obvious we can't do it every week. We're not very good at time management, apparently. But one thing that I did want to share before I left, if you all listen to our show, you've heard us talk about Seth of Seth's Daily Podcast. He is actually on a radio station now, so you need to go check that out. I'm trying to find the details here. He has a spot from 7 p.m. I think to 8 p.m. maybe, or let's see, has been moved from 8 a.m. to 7 p.m. every Sunday evening, starting next Sunday on WKRO, Akron's 80s, 90s, and more. You can find them on Facebook, WKRO-DB, Akron's 80s, 90s, and more. So go give them a like. Go listen to Seth on Seth's Daily Podcast, on his podcast, and on the radio show.
Shout out to Seth.
Yes.
Yeah. Shout out to Seth. He is awesome. But I believe that's going to do it for tonight for us. If you want to be a part of the show, if you have any stories that you'd like to share, paranormaltrucker@yahoo.com is where you can share those. You will remain anonymous unless you tell us otherwise. Give us a like, a comment, and a subscribe. Hit the notification bell over on YouTube. That'll kind of help us out and get more episodes out. And guys, we want to give you more of the content that you want. So please email me and let me know what you want to hear, so that we can we can get what you want. And I think that's going to do it for us for tonight. If you guys don't have anything else.
Nothing here.
I think we're good.
We're good.
All righty. Well, until next time, keep the shiny side up.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.